This is officially our last Zoom class for the 4-day mini course. I will be going live tomorrow and Tuesday in our Facebook group, sharing with you what's possible, what's next, and where do you get to continue to go. So be on the lookout for those lives. And we were just listening to The Climb by Miley Cyrus, and I wanted to say that the climb, it's never about the destination. It's always about how you process and how you move through life. And I remember when I first became a mom, they used to say, once you figure out your child, they go through a growth spurt and you have no idea what they need or what they want or anything. And so, like, when I don't know if there's any, I know Monique's a mom. I don't know if anybody else is a mom here, but Starfire has a child. And I just remember when my first son was born, and for me, I wanted to put him on a routine and just find some ease because I had no idea. Like I was actually a nanny for years and I still had no idea how to take care of my own child because it was way different than being a nanny. And, I used to say, okay, once he starts napping at 10 and 2 or whatever it was, I would be okay. And then as soon as he got onto that rhythm for like a couple weeks, he was on to the next. And that's kind of the story of life. Nothing is ever the same for long. We are constantly evolving as human beings. We are constantly morphing. Your skin changes, your cells change, everything about us changes. The day changes every moment throughout the day with the sun, different points of the day, different minutes of the day, different seconds of the day. So we are not meant to have it all figured out. We are literally here. We are literally here to enjoy the climb, as Miley Cyrus said in her song as we were listening, those that showed up a little earlier. If you haven't listened to that song, it's called The Climb by The Climb by Miley Cyrus. It's a really incredible song. I highly suggest you listen to it and hear the words that she says. Even if you don't like Miley Cyrus, this song is very powerful. I was not necessarily a fan until someone introduced me to that song, and I was like, wow, okay, this is powerful, powerful, powerful. So here we are. We are counting down the days to the closing of the doors of Fear to Freedom. And I know there's a good portion of you guys here that have been part of it or joining it, and I'm super excited about that. And those that haven't, I know that you're on your path and you're finding your way. And those that haven't applied, I invite you to go apply. Apply it then at apply.brendakiss.com and see what it's like. And I wanted to start off today with, let me just pull my notes up. One of the things that I was really committed to bringing to you guys this week, and you don't have to give feedback on the chat here. Wait, I just lost you. Where are you? Oh, there you guys are. But I really wanted to bring you an event that was moving, an event that you felt a difference in your life, an event that you really felt like you were part of a community, and you still are, and there's still opportunity to be part of our sisterhood with Fear to Freedom. And, and then somewhere where you felt safe to express yourself. And I know that the women here that have been showing up in the live Zoom rooms, as well as those that have been consistently showing up in the replays in Facebook, have been sharing. And I want to just say thank you for participating. Thank you for not being a bystander in your life, and to really continue to make the moves. Continue to show up for yourself. When you sit back and just think life's happening to you and not for you, you let your life go by. And I encourage each and every one of you to go to the Facebook group, Create a Life You Love Facebook group. If you haven't gone in there, go in there. And a bunch of my clients have been sharing their journey of where they were and where they're at and how Fear to Freedom has helped them. So I'm going to encourage you to go check them out and really see the potential that you have. Because I remember sitting in a seat like you. I didn't do a 4-day challenge like you guys did, or mini course. I mean, I actually remember sitting home on that. It was a Saturday night in May, and it was in 2014. And I remember sitting there feeling so sorry for myself, so hurt, so uncomfortable in my body, didn't know how I was going to continue to live. Not that I was suicidal, but just didn't know how I was actually going to continue to love on my family and be happy and be myself. And, you know, and I bought a book, and with that book came a free consultation. And it was a recommendation from a friend. And I remember I bought the book, and that Monday, the author called me. Could you imagine buying a #1 best-selling book on Amazon and then the author calling you 2 days later? That's exactly what happened. It's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, right? I was nervous. I was uncomfortable. I didn't know what she wanted with me. I didn't know what was going to happen. And so if that's what you're feeling around the application call, I want to share with you that having that phone call, and if anybody had their application call or their clarity call with Angelica or myself, I would love for you just to drop in the chat here, or if you're watching the replay, drop in the chat and the replay, what that call was like for you. How did you feel during that call? What did you experience during that call? Because I think sometimes when resistance shows up, we make things bigger than they are. We make things bigger than they are. And I know that it takes courage. Courage is the catalyst to create change. Courage is the antidote of resistance. So if resistance is showing up, you get to take the antidote. You get to take the antidote of having courage. Because all resistance is your indication that you're on the path of great expansion, great growth. So during this week, drop in the chat if you've had resistance to the exercises, meaning, what is resistance? Let me just say this. Resistance is not allowing yourself, not intentionally, but could be unintentionally, not allowing yourself to stay present, not allowing yourself to stay focused, not allowing yourself to feel, or like say stuff like, well, this doesn't work for me, this doesn't work for me. That's all. Or excuses. And excuses can be very real, right? And I'm not saying excuses aren't real, but we get to make things excuses or reasons. I don't know if I shared this story this week, but I remember when I had my third child, I love to exercise. Exercise up until recently actually has been one of my most favorite things to release stress and to feel really good in my body. And when I just had my third child, he was still nursing, so he was an infant, and I was just like, all right, I really want to start working out. I really want to start working out. And I could have made excuses like, I don't have time, I don't have the space, I didn't have a babysitter. My son was only breastfed. He actually he was like a snacker. Like, I didn't have like a 2.5 hour break in between his meals. It was like every 20-30 minutes in the beginning, maybe even up until he was a toddler. And so I could have made excuses not to work out, right? Oh, I have I had 3 sons at the time. I still have 3 sons, but 3 young sons then. I had, a child that was nursing. They went to a Montessori school that was a half hour from our house because we live far from everything. I did all the grocery shopping. I homeschooled them the rest of the day. They only went part-time to the school. And I could have made excuses. And where are you making excuses in your life? Drop that right down. Are you making excuses like, I'm just going to close my emails. I didn't realize they were still open. Are you making excuses? Because that's resistance. Like, I can't do this because, well, I don't have money for this. I can't do that. There are always solutions to everything that we are going through, if you choose to look for solutions. Most people continue to look at problems and excuses. So resistance shows up as excuses. It shows up as beliefs like, I can't do this. I don't have enough time for this. I got too much going on. I can't focus. I can't set in. You do that. Yeah, rationalizing, making excuses. 100. When you do that, I want you to recognize that's resistance. The moment you are doing that, that is resistance, and you get to have courage and say, no, what is it that I get to feel right now and move through? so that I can move through the resistance, because that's what it is. Resistance doesn't want, think of resistance as the ego keeping you in your thinking box that we talked about all week. So if you want to, did I share my yoga story with you about resistance? If I did, I'm going to share it again. I have been called to do yoga for years. When I tell you I love exercise, I love like HIIT workouts. I used to run 25 miles a day, not a day, a week, not a day, not a day, not a marathon runner, but like 3 to 5 miles a day. And I would run, do like circuit training, HIIT workouts. That's the type of workout that I really did love. I don't happen to love it anymore. And for years I've been saying, I want to do yoga, I want to do yoga, I want to do yoga. Well, when we're in the ones, we're always going to stay in the ones. It's not until we say, I'm committed, I'm dedicating this time to, right? If we get stuck in the wants, we continue to stay in the wanting. And when we get stuck in the wants, we continue to stay in the wantings. And wanting, you get to look at that. That's a sign of resistance. If we're wanting and not implementing, what's stopping you from implementing? There's thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. So I have had some physical challenges with my body throughout the year. Feel better, Starfire, feel better, okay? I have had some physical challenges with my body throughout the year, and I've been called on and off to go ahead and do yoga. Well, I start a practice and I stop. I start and I stop. I start and I stop. And so the other day, I decided my body's calling me to do yoga. It's so stiff, it's so sore, it's so tight. And I'm like, okay, I've done all this mental work, I've done all this emotional growth, I've said all of this physical release of trauma in my body. What's next? Because we get to, our body holds on to so many things. So I'm like, okay, what am I holding on that's kind of contracting to my body, right? So I'm like, oh, I know I should do yoga. I don't want to do yoga. There's nothing about me. I want to do yoga. I'm being called to yoga. My meditations are telling me to do yoga. I had so much resistance about starting yoga, so guess what I did? I hired a private yoga instructor because I'm like, I won't be held accountable for classes. It's not going to work. And I will make excuses not to go there because I'll just say it's like, oh, my body can't handle that yet or whatever. I'll just let resistance win. So I stepped outside of my comfort zone. I reached out to a yoga instructor that I've known for years. I've taken a few of her classes, and I'm like, do you offer a private session? Do I want to pay 3 times the amount for yoga? No. Do I want to commit to going at 6 a.m.? No. But I also know that resistance, there was so much resistance to it that I'm like, this is where I get to go, because the more resistance I have to something, I know that there's a bigger breakthrough on the other side. So if resistance is showing up, be excited. Be like, hell yeah, because I am breaking through something here, right? It's when you have resistance that shows up that you move and you allow it to win instead of having the antidote. What's the antidote for resistance? Anybody remember? I just said it a few minutes ago. Starts with a C. Courage. Courage is the antidote. Yes, Sherry, you got it. Sherry's the winner. Courage is the antidote of resistance. So the more you have resistance, the more I invite you to lean into it. The more I invite you to look at it. And I'm going to share with you three things to do when you have resistance. But I wanted to share with you, I've made an offer to apply to my program, and I've made an offer to have an application call, and I know resistance shows up for people. And so I wanted to share with you and resistance shows up all the time in our journey of life. And so I wanted to share with you from our sisters their experience with saying yes to themselves. So let's see. And this is super powerful. I want you to listen to these stories, not as you're listening to somebody else's stories, but start to listen and see what they're sharing, because no one is unique. We have a unique expression, but our challenges that we go through, we're all very similar in that sense. It all comes down to the same two beliefs that we all have. We just express it and share it. Limiting beliefs: am I worthy, or am I enough? And will I be loved? And then everything else that goes on in our life comes down to a result of those two questions, right? So here is where you get to listen to these women and hear what they're saying about resistance, because everybody has resistance, and these women chose to move through resistance. These women chose to say yes to themselves and move forward. So I want you to hear their stories, not as if you're just watching a movie, but listen to them intently in the sense of, where does it ring to you? What are they sharing that you're like, oh, I resonate with that, right? Oh, I resonated with that. So let's see, here we go. You guys see the girls? And I'm just going to turn my camera off. Otherwise, it looks weird with two Brendas on the screen. Oh, no, maybe it doesn't show two Brendas on the recording.
Brenda, like wondering if we were worth it.
Is that too fast?
Yeah, totally, right? And it sounds like we each have had, like, how many of us came, with some resistance to saying yes? Right? So I want to know, Christine, how did you get over that resistance? How did you go from, whoa, I don't know if I'm even worthy of this, to realizing, hey, I am worthy and I need to say yes to this program? So what was that for you?
It was more of a push from my family knowing, like, honestly, it was my husband. He's like, you deserve this. I had a cheerleader and I'm like, are you sure I should do this? And he's like, Christine, you were in bed for 3.5 years. You deserve it. Like, you deserve it. Just do it. Like, it's fine. Do it. You need it. Because I had gone to schools to help repair, and I was still missing something. And I just knew I needed this to fill this void and I knew this was just the way. And it was one teacher that introduced me to Brenda. My old teacher introduced me to my new teacher. And I just felt like that was a sign. And this was this was my path. And I had someone telling me, don't doubt it, just do it. You deserve it. You've been through enough. Go take care of you. Find out who you want to be.
Mm-hmm. And you're smashing it.
Yeah,
you're smashing it. You're totally smashing it. Your growth has been such a joy to watch, and growth is not easy. Let's be honest. Let's have that conversation, right? Like, growth is challenging, and growth can come with tears and frustration and anger, and I mean, you name it, and it can, that's what growth can look like. But your beauty of coming out the other side is also growth of you, and growth of love for yourself, and growth of your worth. And, that's the part that I really love watching and helping everyone coach through. Everyone stepping in and saying, like, hey, I can be who I want to be and I'm worth it. At what point, and this is going to put you a little bit more on the spot, at what point did you realize, even though you had this tremendous support in the background, at what point in saying yes did you realize, I am worth this? Like, I'm worth this program. I'm worth doing the work. I'm worth giving it my all. Was that before you started, week 1, week 2? Where in your journey did that happen for you?
If I have to say, it was actually, I got the chance to do the 30-day manifestation course before I started the program, to be fair and honest. So It was when I did the 30-day manifestation program, I wanted to manifest a certain emotional responses to everyday life. And it came true. I said, I want calm. I want peace. I want to feel safe. I want to feel protected. And that showed me that this process works. This process works so well that I manifested that in 15 days, not 30 days. And so that was the point where, and I hadn't even started the real work yet. So it was the 4-day mini course and all the surprises that came with that. It was the 30-day manifestation course. And it was me being exposed to tiny little tools that really proved this works, because I see immediate change. Others around me see immediate change. So it's real. It's you can learn tools from I don't know how many different therapists, but it didn't hit me. This worked.
You connected with it. Yes.
Yes.
Isabel, did you raise your hand? Was that a hand raise?
That was my cat.
Well, my cat is very vocal. She's been in my lap this whole time. So there is something connecting with cat energy at the moment.
Before we go on, I'd just like you to drop in the chat, what did you hear Christine say? Drop down below. What did you hear Christine say? The one in the purple that just spoke. What did you hear her say? What landed with you? What part? What did she say that you were like, oh wow, that's interesting? Or I hear that. I heard that. What part stands out? No need to be shy. What did you say? Drop it down. Nothing landed for you guys? All right, well, we'll see. She was worth it. There you go. And if she's a mirror for you, Monique, what is she telling you? If Christine is your mirror, what is she mirroring to you? I'm worth it. That's right.
Love it. But so while you're unmuted, I'm going to ask you, how did you get over the resistance to saying yes to Fear to Freedom? And when did that happen for you? If you can remember, because
No, it's interesting you're asking that, because I was thinking it as Christine was talking. And what happened to me is I had already been in a yoga class where Brenda came in and did Reiki on the class. And that was long before I saw her workshop, but I followed her page. So what happened for me was she was speaking, and what I thought was so amazing was her total authenticity, her total transparency about her personal experiences and the things that she had gone through. And I was sitting there going, no, this is me. And I'm listening to you while you're talking. And I'm going, no one's ever going to hear about the crap that I have been through. No one is going, and here, this is me. Okay, I guess I'm making a call. Just like, what did she do? And I know that everybody has their person that they connect with. And I have had mentors in the past, and I have had mentors in the present, and I will have them in the future. What happens is, where does that person resonate for you? And what I had discovered while I was going through this process is I coach other people and never even thought about it, that is what I'm doing, because I work with families and individuals, and discovered that, yes, I do need a coach to help me get to the next level. Because I was like, yeah, I got this. I figured it out. No, I just went, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to do this. And the minute that I said yes, I thought I was going to be, we'll call it fixing something in my life that, I needed tweaking with, that I haven't dealt with in 50 years or whatever. And suddenly I realized, no, that's not the whole issue, my dear. You are going to loosen up a lot of the other issues that you have, and this will be freed. And I mean, the fact that I'm sitting here and I seriously have had a crazy day. I have not brushed.
Amazing.
Yeah, and bless your heart.
Amazing.
But that's what I'm saying. Authenticity. Here I am. I'm telling you that. Otherwise, because I'm always person who has to be on, I thought. And I haven't brushed my hair. I'm still wearing my pajamas from this morning and I have no makeup on, okay? And it's been a crazy day. But you know what? This was important to me. And we always talk about being impeccable with your word. And Brenda talks about that all of the time. I said, I don't care what I look like. My presence is here. And that is important to other people to let you know, like if you're on the ledge as to whether I'm going to do this program or I'm not going to do this. It really has made an incredible difference in my life. And believe me, I was just going, yeah, I got this.
Yeah, we could all use an extra person in our corner. And I feel when I said yes to Fear to Freedom, not only did I gain Brenda, but I gained an entire sisterhood as well. I mean, I look at, yes, you were one of my first people in my journey, and you're still in the journey. We're still in the journey together. And you have brought so much joy and blessing into my own life. And I feel that way about every single one of our sisters. I connect with each and every one of us in many different ways. And it's, I think sometimes there's a lot of us that go around feeling lonely or lost, like, I'm not connecting with people don't understand me. And when I said yes to Fear to Freedom, all of a sudden I had a whole group of people that get me, that I can cry with, laugh with, be silly with, mess up my words with, and also speak my truth, which was buried for so long for me, speaking my truth. And I just know that this group of women is, if above anything else at the moment, a super safe space for me. And yes, there could be resistance that shows up when I go to speak, although I think we all know that, speaking for me is not really an issue. Although you would be surprised how much I actually get in my head on some of our calls, like, do the girls really need to hear this? And what I'm learning for myself is yes. The answer is always yes. Somebody on the call always needs to hear what each of us is saying. And so even though that resistance and ego might creep in, I'm just learning to roll with it and say, this is my safe space and I can say whatever needs to be said. Thank you so much, Isabel, for sharing. Kelly, tell me.
Before we go to Kelly, what landed for you between Isabel and Charlotte? What did you hear them say about resistance? What did you hear them say about how they changed their resistance? Because a couple things landed for me, but I want to see what you guys heard. I see the steam. I heard they belong to a sisterhood, being part of a sisterhood. Yeah. And that they felt safe. But some of the, one of the things that Isabel said that I think is important to really being part and feeling safe. Yeah. So one of the things I want to point out, two things that they both talked about in resistance was Isabel talked about like, oh, I got this. I don't need anybody. I got this. Right. And so that was resistance for her. She realized that she was playing I got this for all these years. And like Isabel said, Isabel knew me before I had my online practice. That's going back a few years now. And so her resistance showed up as I got this. I got this. I don't need anything else. I got this, right? Her armor was on and she had to start letting go of that thought of I got this, and that she could, reach out and have help to take her to the next level. And then Charlotte talked about showing up in class, even still for herself. She talked about being able to speak her truth, but there's a part of her that goes into resistance around that. Like, do the girls of this class really need to hear this? And she said every day, every class, she still has to talk her resistance down. Right? So simply like getting out of her head, dropping into your heart and asking yourself what really gets to be expressed. And not letting resistance say, well, maybe you shouldn't talk. Don't bring this up. Don't bring that up. Right? But who knows what bringing something up would help, how it would help her and how it will help somebody else. So it's not necessarily ignoring the resistance, but it's noticing it and doing it anyway. Oh, what the heck? Go for it anyway. Right? Oh, what the heck? Go for it anyway. Yes, that's Isabel. And that's, someone just wrote that she liked how one of them came comfortable enough in her PJs and her hair not done. And that's the truth. We talk a lot about that could be resistance, right? Oh, my hair's not done. I can't get on camera. Oh, I don't feel like getting dressed. I'm not coming, right? She could have let resistance stop her, but she decided to just move through it anyway and show up authentically herself. Have the courage just to show up, decide. We talked about decision, I think Thursday, like making a decision of keeping your word, of showing up, or whatever your word is. In this case, it was showing up here tonight. So let's see what wisdom Kelly's going to share with you.
Tell me your perspective. How did you overcome resistance to saying yes to Fear to Freedom? Because you said earlier, you don't do this kind of thing.
No. I actually spoke with Angelica for quite a while. And
for those of you who don't know yet, Angelica is another Be Kiss coach. Oh, yeah. And so she's also somebody who supports us along our journeys. And yes, and she's often one of the first phone calls that you have coming into Fear to Freedom and Be Kiss. Yeah.
Yes. And we had very similar stories, from childhood up to, bad choice relationships. So we had a lot in common. And it was at that moment I thought, I am worth this. My kids are grown. I'm single.
So right there, what is she doing? We talked about Saturday. What is she doing? What is she focused on? What's not possible or what's possible? What's possible, right? Like she started her self-talk instead of saying, I can't do this. I'm not worth it. I don't know how it's ever going to make it. I don't know how I'm going to make this happen. I don't know if I could do this. She started to tell herself, like you said, Rochelle, I got this. I'm worth it. She started to put her energy back into possibility versus doubt. These are all ways to move through resistance, girls.
And, and I thought it's time for me. So I did say yes, after speaking with her and, figured, yeah, I'm definitely worth the investment. But I will say, probably 3 months down the road, I had some really high resistance. And I remember messaging Brenda saying, I'm done. See you later. It's been great. And maybe not in them exact words, but
it was those exact words, basically. She said, hey, I'm done. I'm not returning, is what she said to me.
But that's what the feeling was. That's what your feeling was that was coming up, and you're just speaking openly and honestly about it. Yeah, you may not have said those words, but that's exactly how you were feeling.
I did tell her. I said, no, I'm done. I won't be coming to class anymore. I'm over it. And she said, well, I think that deserves a conversation. I'm like, sure, whatever. Yeah, And she said, what is going on? And I said, I don't feel connected to anybody. I said, I just don't. And she said, well, how are you coming to class? I go, I'm coming fine. It's not me, it's them. So we had a conversation and she said, I want you to talk to a couple of the other sisters. And, after that, if you still feel like you don't want to, you don't want to come back. So I had a couple of conversations with a couple of the other ladies. It was quite amazing because I did connect with them. And I ended up coming back and of course, I do a lot of inner reflection when somebody says something. So I did think, decide what Brenda was talking about. And I had to come back and kind of eat a little bit of crow. And I went, yeah, maybe you were right. I'll give it a try. And here I am.
Here you are.
Yeah,
and we're never going to.
Okay, so Kelly is giving you a bunch of ways to overcome resistance, right? One, she spoke her truth. She was like, I'm done. This is it. I'm done. Right? So she leaned into the resistance. She didn't avoid me. She didn't avoid the conversation. She didn't avoid what she was feeling. She expressed her feeling to me, right? Like she expressed her resistance. And I said, okay, well, let's have a conversation about it. She stayed open to the conversation. Then she went and had a couple conversations with the girls, which was, she wanted to experience some more, like get to know a couple of the girls. And then she did what? What did she do afterwards? She came back and she reflected on how she was showing up. Because I said, everything in your life is in your life because that's a mirror for you. Just like I said to Monique, if she wrote down, I'm worth it, she's worth it. And I said, that's a mirror for you. Well, the group was showing Kelly that she was disconnected. And she wanted to point the finger at the program and at the sisterhood of how they're disconnected. And it wasn't the sisterhood, it was her experience of the sisterhood. So then we had to talk about that. So another way to move through resistance is to be open to be curious. So she stayed in curiosity. She stayed in looking at like, okay, my resistance is here. I don't want to be here anymore, but I'm going to lean into it and be curious. I'm going to stay open, and see. And then she took a pause and she started to reflect. And so that's what you get to do during resistance is any of those, like any of these gifts that these women are giving you. What's landing for you? Drop in the chat what's landing for you. What are you hearing me say or Kelly say? Resistance will come. That's absolutely true. And we can handle it. You just need to push through the moments of resistance. Yeah, I like the word lean in because I don't want to push through anything. I want to lean into it. I want to feel it. I want to honor it. And I'll talk a little bit about that after this.
I'm gonna let you go. I hope you know this. Like, you're never gonna be able to leave now.
I'm like, okay, so here I am.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to the retreat.
And now you're going to the retreat, right? So, I mean, that's the part that also, like, I think it's
3 months ago, she wanted to quit, and now she's coming to the in-person retreat that I'm hosting. Right? So lots of resistance shows up. Life always is going to throw you resistance because the ego always wants you to stay where you're at. So you get to continue to move through the resistance.
Important to have in this conversation. Your resistance didn't show up until later. And later it was very hardcore for you. And yeah, sometimes it's really taking that look inward and it's not always fun. Let's right. So it's really sometimes about taking that look inward and owning our own crap. Right. And so kudos to you for taking that look inward and going, okay, maybe it's me, not them. And also for like having that moment and then saying, I'm going to show up because you gave yourself that gift. You could have easily chosen to still not show up for yourself. And you chose to say, hey, I'm worth it. I'm worth this. I'm worth taking a look inward. I'm worth working out this challenge, this resistance. And I'm so glad that you did. I feel like you're one of those people I could just talk to forever and never run out of conversation. And it's a really beautiful connection that I feel with you. So thank you for sticking around and working through your resistance. Alexis, that leaves you, my love. What, tell me about your resistance, how you overcame it.
Honestly, I overcame it in the beginning. I'm like Kelly, it came back. But I overcame it in the beginning because I spoke to Doreen. Brenda was like, do you want to talk to one of the sisters? Because my mindset was, is this really even going to work? I mean, you're talking a good game. I hear you. Okay. But is this really going to work? And when she was like, well, do you want to actually talk to someone, who's been through it? I'm like, sure. So when I talked to Doreen, I did already assume it was going to be like a sales pitch type, whatever. Doreen was super authentic, super honest to the point where she told me about her resistance. And that's what I resonated with. It wasn't oh yeah, come on, it's gonna work, it's lovely. She was like, nah, I didn't want to do it at first. I had, like she was so authentic with me that I'm like, okay, maybe it can work. So I signed up, still, a little nervous about it. But like Kelly, a couple months later, the resistance came back. Mine came back because of the rules, though, and that I didn't recognize it at first because Brenda, did bring up the resistance. We had a phone call, but it was like, no, I'm not sure. I mean, there's timing constraints. There's this. There's my job. There's so many things, and
You see how resistance is showing up for her? I don't know. I got work. There's so much time restraints. I got family. I got to do things. I don't know. So here, what are you saying to yourself? Because that was resistance for Alexis.
And I even stopped coming to a couple classes for a little while. And then it was Angelica who reached out. And again, I got that sister connection back, which I didn't recognize I needed because I got this. I'm fine. I can do it on my own. And, no big deal, whatever. But I recognized I did need it. And then hearing her story, just her reaching out. Hey, how you doing? What's up? Whatever. It was just that. It wasn't hey, come to class or do anything. She reached out to me to ask about me, And for me, that really did touch me. And then I started coming back to the manifestation class when that picked up. And I don't know. It's like I got a second wind of, okay, yeah, I do deserve this. I can work this. We can do it. And, it's just my accountability to me. I signed up for me. I do deserve
So what are you hearing? Let's just hear.
this. So yeah, it was rocky.
So what's landing for you from Alexis? Drop that in the chat. What's landing from you from Alexis? What did you hear about resistance there? What did you hear about resistance there? She needed reassurance. Yeah, she needed that connection, that accountability, right? If you're doing self-growth work on your own, you know how easy it is to stay in resistance? Yeah. So you get to stay in accountability. You get to stay in connection. And so it was the accountability. She quit, then came back. She actually didn't quit the program. She did take some time, like a week or two off, and we needed to have a conversation because she was like, because of her rules. Alexis has a lot of rules around what should and shouldn't be. And so it's looking at life not through a black or white experience, but a rainbow of opportunities. And so one of the things that you get to do when resistance shows up is be curious. Notice it and be curious. What is it showing me? What would happen if I chose not to listen to resistance? How can I shift from resistance to allowing? Right? These are noticing the resistance. What is it showing me? Being curious about it. Being curious about what's possible. What happens if you don't listen to your excuses? What happens if you start to allow yourself the gift of showing up for you? Right? So you've learned so much this week. And there's nothing more than I want for you to implement and keep this work that you've done this week into your body, mind, and soul and continue to move forward. And I gave you an opportunity to do that with an opportunity to apply to our program, Fear to Freedom, where we use our transformative neuroreiki method. And so I invite you, if you haven't applied, and if those that have and are on board, congratulations. And I'm excited, so excited for you. So excited for you. But those that haven't, I want you to look at your story that you're telling yourself. I can't afford this. I got too much on my plate. I have so many other things going on. I'm in school. I'm in another program. I don't know if I can handle anything more. I want you to look at those thoughts, and I want you to look at them in a different perspective, in the sense of what if you stepped into one of the 5 leadership distinctions? So let me share with you the leadership distinctions that you could step into when resistance shows up. I moved my notes, but then I can't see you guys. Okay. What if you decided to step into, away from, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm worthy of this. I don't know if the program's going to work. I don't know if I can afford it. I don't, whatever the excuses are that you haven't applied yet. And if you have applied, think of some, maybe it's like, oh my God, what did I do? Am I going to be accepted? Or if you did say yes, Monique, and if you did say yes, like, oh my God, what did I do? How am I doing this? Well, I don't know how I'm going to make this happen. All the fear comes running back in. That's because you made a decision outside your box, and the fear wants you to stay where you are. So what would happen if you stepped into one of these leadership qualities, these leadership distinctions? There's 5 of them. You can step into all 5, but what if you just chose to believe one of these? And the first one is, if it's to be, it's up to me. If it's to be, it's up to me. So if one of your questions is this program going to work for me? My thought is, if it's to be, if you want it to work, who's it up to, me or you? You've heard from women. Go check out the Facebook group. There's I don't know how many women there sharing their testimonials, sharing how this program's changed their life. And I can tell you this, it doesn't mean your life would change, because you get to step into the leadership distinction of, if it's to be, it's up to me. My program works. I've been doing this for a long time. It works when the women on the other side show up committed to doing the work. The next distinction of leadership is 100% is possible 100% of the time. So what would happen in your life if you took on the belief 100% is possible 100% of the time? That means you can create the income. That means you could create the space, you can create the time, you could create whatever you needed to make something possible. 100% is possible 100% of the time. The next leadership distinction is, live my life as if my life and other people's lives depend on it. So if you're making excuses, if you're hiding behind your problems, if you're letting your ego and your fear run your life, that is what you're spreading into the world. What if you chose to step into that leadership distinction? Live my life as if my life and other people's lives depend upon it. What would you do differently right now? Drop that in the chat. What would you do differently right now if you chose to step into that belief? Live my life as if my life and other people's lives depend upon it. What would you do differently in your life right now? How would you show up differently, knowing that your life depends, your life is dependent on how you're living your life right now, as well as other people's lives are dependent on it? What would you do differently? Drop it in the chat. Take better care of myself. There you go. There you go. What thoughts would you have? What different thoughts would you have? What different feelings would you have? How would you show up at work or in meeting a stranger if that was if that's the leadership distinction that you decided to step into? Okay, there's 2 more, but I want to share some other stuff. I'm going to hold back because I know you guys want that information. So I'm going to hold back and share something else with you. There's 3 things that I want you to look at when you have resistance. And these 3 things are, my notes and you guys are going all over the place. Okay, is to notice the resistance. And to notice the resistance, you have to tune in. So I'm going to invite you 3 times a day to tune in and see resistance shows up as fear, shows up as ego, shows up as of not wanting to do things, not seeing like I can't, I won't. Ask yourself, what is this showing me? What lessons under this for me? And then I want you to just show love and gratitude for your resistance. Love and gratitude for your resistance. So just be like, I love you, resistance. Thank you for showing up. I love you so much. And then you're going to say, I choose a different thought. I choose a different thought. So I want to share with you how these women chose a different thought when it came to saying yes to Fear to Freedom.
Go for it.
Okay, so what I did was, how much is a therapy session once a week without insurance? It's $100 plus for a good therapist. Well, I wasn't getting anywhere. So if I added up, okay, it's about $100 a week to see the therapist or more. So that's like $400 right out of pocket each month. And I'm like, so this way I'm getting, and I know Brenda is not a therapist, but I was just comparing the prices of like, and this isn't even per hour. That's a therapist per hour once a week. Brenda and you guys are there 24/7. Like when you get to it, you can get to it, but I can call you. Well, therapists that you can call at any moment, that's $300 a week. So if you really think about it, comparing what you get to how many hours of work all of you give us and support, it adds up. And we're actually so I was just like, how much would I charge if I was a therapist and I was doing this once a week per hour? And that's how I just mathematically was like, I'm actually getting a steal for this. Like, and that's how I logically equalized it for myself. It was, if I had to pay for this weekly, it'd be the same amount of money monthly. But I think I actually am getting more because you're not getting Reiki treatments for like on Sundays with you, Charlotte. You know, you're not getting other components with just a therapist. You're not getting a one-on-one. You're not getting a group therapy. It's just you and a therapist. This is so much more, and so much more attention to each individual person and the group. And that's what it, and if you really add it all up, she could charge more for this is actually what I ended up getting the conclusion of. And that's how I rationalized it. But also, I wanted to do it, but that's how I rationalized it with my ego. I logically convinced
smiling
myself.
and laughing about your answer. This was my most greatest resistance in saying yes to Fear to Freedom was the financial component. You know, I have a family to think about. I have young ones to think about. And so this was really like a big budget conversation. And also like, this was all money going towards me. Like, how is something going towards me going to benefit the rest of my family? And so like that, and I really didn't understand that part of it. Even though I had already gone through the manifestation with Brenda, I was like, I don't get it. But there was also that calling to just, let's do it. You know, my partner and I, we made a commitment to it. We looked at our budget. We realized this is totally doable. Part of our conversation was actually your conversation. Like, this is how much we're paying for therapy every week, which did not work for me. I have said this, and if this is the first time that you're seeing me again, traditional therapy didn't work for me. I would go into my therapist and talk, and leave feeling like crap, to be honest with you. I would be like a ball of tears and wait, what was I supposed to do for the week? what did my therapist say back to me? I was all still congested walking out, and then it would take me days to reset. And so I love that this program works without the talk therapy component. I mean, we all talk about what's coming up for us, but we don't have to sit there for an hour, talking about what all the stuff that's coming up for us in our lives in order to receive healing. And so that's what like clicked for me. And for me, once that clicked, which was literally the first class, which when you join us, it'll be the tree exercise. And it is like one of the best exercises that we can go through. I love that you guys are shaking your head. I love the tree exercise. But like literally I left that class and I went to my wife and I literally was like, this one exercise is worth all the pennies. I mean, the new version of me that walked out from the tree exercise was literally worth all the pennies that we could have put into the program. And I agree. There was that moment where I was like, holy crap. And then the support came, the one-on-one with Brenda, the support from my sisters, the interaction we had as a group in WhatsApp and texting and whatever other communication was happening. And I was like, yeah, this is way more than what you gain in traditional therapy. For me, this was a game changer. So Alexis, Isabel, Kelly, who else has thoughts on that? Oh, Alexis is ready. She's like, let's do it.
100%. I did the exact same math. I said, because I was actually in therapy in Pancast at the time. So I did the exact same math. So I'm telling you what Brenda told me, and I'm pretty sure she probably still has this recording. Because one of my things I would do, especially when I get anxious, is shop. And I don't remember her words verbatim, but she basically just said, you're already spending the money. And when she said it, it was just like, you're right. I really do. Like if I go look at my budget, we were one income household at the time. And if I went and looked at my budget, I really was already spending the money somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So it just meant to just budget just a bit better. Mm-hmm. And so, but that was the thing for me. Her just blanket, you're already doing it. So what do you mean you don't have it? You are already spending it. And I was like, a little bit, at first it was like, she's right. I really am. So why not spend it on something that's actually going to benefit me? So yeah.
And was that shopping for, I call it shop therapy. Like,
yeah.
I love your, so I call it shop therapy, but was that shop therapy filling your needs or, bringing into your life what you were looking for more or, more than
for the moment. Obviously you feel that high for the moment. Sure. It's really funny. Marina's on now. She invited me to watch her live. Okay, so, but for the moment it was great. And then afterwards, guess what I had to do to feel the high again? You gotta go shop again. So I was literally like, oh shoot, we need this. I'm gonna order on Amazon. Oh shoot, we need this. Let me do a grocery delivery. Like I was literally doing that and not even paying attention until she made that comment. I literally left that call and went and rethought my whole life. Like I am just spending money to feel good. Yeah.
And now you're spending money to feel good in a completely different way.
Yes,
and how much more does this fulfill you?
It's actual tools that work in the moment when I need them to work. It's not just a 2-second high and then I got to go find my next high. This is tools that are working in the moment to actually create lasting change, like real shifts. Like the tree you talked about, mine is sitting right there on my wall. It's still there. Yeah.
I know exactly where my tree is. I see it every single day and I read it every single day. Mm-hmm. Kelly, you were ready to say something about the financial component.
It was funny because when I talked with Angelica, at the moment, once again, I was like, okay, I can do this. It's for me. I paid for my college. I went to college later in life. So I thought, I'm worth it. It is just me. I don't, fortunately I don't have little children at home and, starting a new life. So I'm like, I can do this. But then once again, remorse set in. And I was like, what the hell did you do?
Right.
I'm like, oh my God.
Who else had that feeling like after saying yes, like, oh crap, what did I just do? Oh my gosh, maybe I should call her and say no. Maybe I should, how do I get my money back? Like, right. All of us, every single one of us, having this conversation had those feelings. And then you start the work, right?
Yeah. And it's because what it is your ego giving you all these, like, oh, you can't afford it. Oh, you can't do this. Oh, you can't, and so finally it was like, just, like, all right, shut the hell up, ego. we're just going to roll with this and we're going to go. And it's going to work out because, meditating, manifesting, it's going to work out. And so far it's been good. And I, knock on wood that I'm at an advantage that I can afford this. So, it'll work out. That's all I know.
It's going to work out.
It's going to work out. So they had positive self-talk. They decided to look at what was, where were they spending money to justify that they could do something else. Like resistance shows up everywhere. So they had resistance showing up to invest in Fear to Freedom. They had resistance showing up during the Fear to Freedom. Resistance never goes away. It's how you acknowledge it. What is it showing you? And then asking them how, or then loving on to the resistance. Then loving on to the resistance. So I just wanted to share one last short video with you, just for those on looking at Fear to Freedom, taking this week, seeing how you felt this week, seeing what's different for you and different in your life, what energetically, what feels different, what you've learned, how you've taken action for this, and action for yourself this week. And so I want to share, just give you one little piece of, one more little share from these women to help you overcome any last thoughts of resistance around Fear to Freedom, and just share with you how it's different. And then I'm going to come back to the last two distinctions of leadership for you guys. Oh, hold on. Maybe if I can get my screens working.
You mentioned that you've done other programs. Who's done other programs? Okay, Isabel, Alexis, Christine. So, Alexis, tell me, how is Fear to Freedom different? Like, what makes Fear to Freedom different? Are you, is there any reason for you to have any other program at this point? I mean.
I can say for sure, one thing is the closeness. And as Isabel said, Brenda's here. She's not just something that, you know, in a pool of 1,000 other people. I've been in many groups like that. So yeah, we may have a Facebook group that you can create a post or whatever, but it's not as intimate as the WhatsApp group, or, you know, you may not want to post certain things on there. So for me, it is having that hands-on experience and being seen. Like, see me. Don't just take my money and then, you know, give me something to go on the computer and do on my own, but see me, work with me, help me. And that for me is the bigger difference that I've definitely seen.
Love that. Yes. We all want to be seen. We all want to, you know, show our authentic selves. And I really feel like, you know, Fear to Freedom allows us to really step into who we truly are. And it's a wonderful journey to get there. Yeah. Isabel, how about for you? How is this different from other groups? I know that you touched on it a little bit, you know, being part of, you know, a Zoom call with 17 pages and, you know, Brenda knowing who we are. Those are all factors in this for sure. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Sure. I think that the difference too is that the person that I worked with knew me a little bit, but not really, and was more, I feel like making a performance as opposed to where Brenda, and we know this because we've been in programs with her, well, she'll go, okay, how's everybody doing? And then somebody is down in the dumps, somebody is frustrated, somebody's anxious about a new job. And all of a sudden she goes, okay, I had something planned, but I'm going to do something different. She pulls out the toolbox and pulls out some new tools. And next thing you know, she's like, everybody stand up. And you're like, did I do it? And this is Brenda because she's real. And because you're going with truly the flow, but I feel like the energy, the vibe, and we have been there on days when everybody is just like, yeah, Brenda. Okay, what? Oh, okay, she's talking. Oh, crap, she's talking to me. I have to answer a question. And then she's like, no, hello, wake up, everybody, right?
All right. Yes, I can't stop laughing because it's just like truth on top of truth on top of truth. Yes.
It's your day, and you're like, oh my God, I'm having such a terrible day, and I'm listening to all these freaking happy people. I just want to scream. So, yes, right, Alexis. And what you end up doing is the energy at the end of the class is transformed, and we're all like, either we're all even, or we're feeling better. We're definitely feeling better. I don't think I've ever left feeling bad. I might have been in deep and thought about something that I did that particular day. But there are days, I mean, because this is probably, other than daily prayer or journaling or, you know, whatever I'm doing in the morning, this is probably the most consistent is the Monday night that I've done for the last 3 years. I can tell you that much because I'll look and I'll go, oh no, nothing's on Monday nights. And my husband will come in and he's like, well, I'm like,
nope, this is my class.
Which is what happened when I was just on. And it's, you know, I don't even know when people ask me, what am I doing on Monday nights? I'm like, is it healing? Is it therapy? Is it training? Is it coaching? What am I? It's my time. Leave me alone.
Yes, right.
And the cat is next to me now, but everybody comes in. My son will come in. Everybody wants to be in on this energy. So what I'm saying, that sisterhood and different programs, no, this happens here. And Brenda has a lot to do that. And Brenda will say that she's not as outgoing and energetic. And we all have to put on that face, but we're all real here. And that's the part I love. And I mean, my hands just tingled when I said that. We are real. And even when we're having a crappy day, we've been there and we held somebody accountable and we're all there. Oh man, we're all there for that person and guaranteed that other person will be getting conversation from all of us afterwards. So
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I love, there was something that you said that really resonated for me, and that was that Brenda's able to pivot. I have not worked with another coach. I just knew that I needed to say yes to Brenda. I did not expect my journey with her to unfold into becoming one of her coaches and a healer. Here I am. And although I've taken many classes, as a hairstylist, I've taken many classes. And, you know, when there's a group of people who are stuck and are confused, not every educator, not every coach knows how to pivot into giving what that class needs in that moment. And she does that so beautifully. And yes, there's so many times where we're asked to stand up and we're like, what are we standing up for? But we all do it. And we get our energy shifted and we walk away. And I have to say, yes, there are days even I as a coach come into class and I'm like, oh man, I got some baggage coming in with me. And I always leave, like you said, back into neutral or even a higher vibration. I have to say, I probably walk away with a higher vibration 9 times out of 10. And that's my experience, in the group. So that was what really resonated for me. And I appreciate you sharing that viewpoint for sure. Christine, how about you? How does this differ from other classes for you?
I wrote something down earlier that was like a little thought, and I'm like, what have I learned about this? And it's like, this program walks the walk that all other programs talk about but never take.
Oh, I just felt that everywhere.
That's the difference. And I was raised in a new age home. My auntie did acupuncture on me at the age of 3 and up. I've known Reiki before. I knew what my birthday was because they told me you're a Scorpio, and I was a Scorpio. They're like, then I knew my birthday. Like, I knew I was a water rabbit. I knew. Everybody told me everything. Like, but I never got it. It's like all this information was getting shoved, but no one ever made me walk the walk. Brenda makes you walk the walk, and you want to.
Every time you say that, I have like
a
full body reaction to it. Like,
I had a reaction writing it. It was kind of like, I was channeling a little bit of my poetic, and I'm just like, in this program, you walk the walk. Everybody else talks about walking, but they don't take it. And Brenda gets up and walks every day.
Yeah,
like,
she does.
In reality, so it's like
she physically walks every day.
Yeah, she holds herself accountable, and that's like also it's just all meaningful and symbolic, and that's if there was a slogan for this program,
you just created it for us.
You totally have it. There you go.
Spirit of Freedom walks the walk. Like, that's it right there. That is so powerful. And I don't think there's anything else that could be said in this conversation. So we encourage you to come walk the walk with us. Say yes to Fear to Freedom. Say yes to yourself. Say yes to the sisterhood and walk the walk. A couple of you mentioned.
So knowing that when you move through resistance, I just want you to see how those girls went from resistance, went from stout, scared. Even after they said yes, they had resistance. They had buyer's remorse. And as they continue to lean into that, they've continued to experience a whole different way of being, a whole different way of living. And they honor themselves for where they are. They honor each other, because resistance is just fear showing up. And you can live your life through fear, or you can live your life through love, through spirit, through consciousness. Both are perfectly normal. And you get to decide. You get to decide how to move through life, whether you want to continue to let resistance run your life or move forward. So we are closing the doors to Fear to Freedom on Tuesday. So you have only 2 days left to apply. Apply.brendakiss.com. So I encourage you right now to go do that if you haven't done so already. And I wanted to give you the last 2 distinctions of leadership, because this too will help move through resistance if you allowed yourself to continue to believe or step into these distinctions. And that's the next one is taking committed action versus psychological assessment. What does that mean? That means taking the action that feels good instead of ruminating, instead of processing, instead of trying to live in perfect world and get everything organized and right and logically played out in your mind. That keeps us stuck when we live in psychological assessment. But a leader takes committed action, or a leader takes action that's going to move them forward in their life. So where do you get to take committed action? Where do you get to show up without having everything planned out, without having everything making sense in your brain? Because remember, your brain was designed to look for problems, and if you stay in your brain long enough, it will look for all the problems. And what you look for, guess what? You find. So taking committed action versus psychological assessment. The last distinction of leadership is being in the energy of giving and generosity. Giving and generosity, meaning you get to show up giving, being generous. Give what you want most in your life. So if you want love, give love. If you want money, give money. If you want acceptance, accept others. If you want health, give health. If you want positivity, give positivity. So reviewing the 5, if it's to be, it's up to me. If it's to be, it's up to me. 100% is possible 100% of the time. 100% is possible 100% of the time. Live my life as if my life and other people's lives depend upon it. Live my life as if my life and other people's life depend upon it. Take committed action versus psychological assessment. Committed action versus psychological assessment. And giving and generosity. What would happen for you if you allowed yourself to live in one of those 5 beliefs? Would resistance have a chance? And if resistance didn't have a chance, what's possible? Go ahead and apply at apply.brendakiss.com. Doors will be closing. I congratulate, if I have your permission in the room, if I can congratulate the people that have said yes. Monique, I am so excited to be working with you. And Rochelle, so excited to be working with you as well. I'm so excited. So, continue your path. Stay committed to who you are. I'll see you in the Facebook group these next 2 days. And obviously I'll give you ways to stay connected as well. But Fear to Freedom, this opportunity doesn't come all the time. And we take limited people. So make sure you take action today and fill out your application. I love you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Bye.